What you're about to see is so insufferable, so cringy, you might not make it through this whole video. So just fair warning, if you have to just tap out in the middle of this, say, Steven, I can't make it all the way through. Don't worry, I understand. Because even writing this, even going through this, even researching it, I was suffering to bring you guys this grade A
cringe content,
which you're about to bear witness to. So with that little disclaimer out of the way, I absolve you. If you have to click off, believe me, I understand. But today we're going to be covering the insufferable life of an Instagram rich kid, the rich kid in this case being Evan Luthra. And it's the first of a multi-part fake guru about this self-proclaimed multimillionaire tech entrepreneur. He says he has a PhD in blockchain. And he says he was mentored by Steve Jobs, none other than Steve Jobs. And don't forget about the fact that he's only 25 years old, you know? PhD, multimillionaire tech entrepreneur, mentored by Steve Jobs, 25 years old, no big deal, no big deal. And we're about to be going through one of these PR posts that he got written about him by Vice. Vice of all people. I mean, honestly, I expected this of Forbes. I see every single so-called entrepreneur, make money online guy featured in Forbes, but I did not expect this from Vice. It's a sponsored post by Vice. It's called "What Do We Own? Yachts and Lobster in Ibiza with Tech Millionaire Evan Luthra." Which already we're off to a bang. Yachts and lobsters, baby. Frankly, I'm disappointed in you, Vice. I thought better. When I saw your post about London Real, I saw a ray of sunshine, but this may have destroyed all of it. So we're gonna go through this together. Don't worry, I'm gonna walk you through it all. Put on your seatbelts, buckle up here, boys. Oh, I probably should introduce Evan though real quick. Evan, he's mostly known on Instagram where he has 500,000 followers. He's known for his money girls, like lifestyle Instagram thing. Which would be just as pathetic as every other Instagram rich kid, except the fact that he goes one step further and tries to be the tech investor, right? He tries to claim he's mentored by Steve Jobs, billionaire Steve Jobs. And he has other outlandish claims like developing his first smartphone app when he's 12.
At the age of 12, he devised his first smartphone app.
The only problem there being that the App Store wasn't launched until he was 13 years old. So, small problem there. But let's just get into this post specifically. So starting off, we have 21-year-old startup multimillionaire Evan Luthra began creating apps early on, just after their Apple-inspired conception. Actually, he started before, right? Because he started when he was 12, which is before their Apple-inspired conception. But the late Steve Jobs, the godfather of tech transfiguration, became Luthra's mentor, quickly recognizing his potential for innovative, unparalleled progression in the laterally minded young business brain. Dude, he got like a Pulitzer Prize winner to write this stuff. This is amazing. The unparalleled progression in the laterally minded young business brain, AKA, the young idiot. Because let's be clear, Steve Jobs, RIP, he died in 2011. So Steve Jobs died when this guy was 16. He couldn't have mentored him for very long. I mean, this guy was barely out of the diapers, you know, when Steve Jobs was no longer able to mentor him. So I don't know what kind of laterally minded young business brain Steve Jobs was looking for. I would say child labor laws at some point, come into effect. You're 16 years old, Jobs is putting you to work, dude? No way. But then it gets better. Steve Jobs approached Evan to work out how to harness the power of the newly configured App Store. That's right. Even though it says that, Steve Jobs was Luthra's mentor, very quickly we realized there may have been a different arrangement involved. Actually, Steve Jobs approached Evan Luthra to work out how to harness the power of the App Store. Isn't that amazing? Steve Jobs was just racking his brain, how do I figure out my App Store? My App Store, I don't know if it's gonna work. Who should we call? How does this go? I know. Get Evan Luthra on the phone. He's gonna know how to harness the power of my newly configured App Store. Then we have a little quote from Luthra pontificating on why Steve invested in him. I think the biggest reason Steve invested in me was because I was very young and he appreciated that. Yeah, Steve, he really enjoyed spending the last years of his life investing in 14 to 16-year-olds. When he and I first spoke on the phone, it was very, very early days. He had just built the App Store and nobody was using it. Yeah, you guys remember that. Days when nobody was using the App Store. We all remember those dark times before Evan stepped in. Steve Jobs, he was just looking for feedback, according to Evan. How can anyone write this in good faith? Like, poor Steve, you know, he's rolling in his grave here. You know, he just wants peace. Gosh, he revolutionized everyone's life. He just wants peace, and this guy's digging up the grave to pull a little cloud out of it. It's horrible. The poor man can't defend himself. Steve Jobs was just looking for feedback on his app store that nobody was using. And Evan said, it's a great platform. The conversation of legends right there. You know, young Evan here, which if it was 2008 when the App Store first launched, Evan was like 12 or 13 years old. So young Evan's like,
It's a great platform, Mr. Jobs.
and Steve is like, hey, but Evan, nobody's using it. How do I make it better?
It's a really great platform.
Steve Jobs and Evan Luthra were like this, guys. Little do you know. And here we have our first featured pick of Evan. You know, this is the guy that Steve Jobs would be very proud of right now. They were close. They were close. Really, I mean, was Steve Evan's mentor or was Evan Steve's mentor? It's unclear because you guys know the unparalleled progression of a laterally minded young business brain. It's seriously, it's no joke. And Steve Jobs recognized that. He really wanted to get Evan's insight. Really, this is great stuff, Vice. I'm really happy you printed this. By the way, guys, we're 2 paragraphs in. Have you cringed yet? Featured on Tumblr's Rich Kids of Instagram earlier this year, Luthra is Facebook famous for his excessive and exuberant lifestyle, filtered down his billion-dollar ballin' social feeds. No! Oh gosh, I want to know how much he paid to have those words, billion-dollar ballin' social feeds. Oh man, I hope this writer got a lot of money for this. Billion-dollar ballin' social feeds. If any of you out there ever write anything about me, and no, I don't have any money to pay you, please write down something about my billion-dollar ballin' social feeds. Recently Instagramming 2 Sorry, we can't stop every time. We gotta move on. Instagramming 2 pairs of Louis Vuitton studded trainers. Luthra purchased the 5,000 pound in both colors because he couldn't decide on which he preferred. Yeah, real problems. That said, through our conversation, he impresses me that experiences over possessions are his most prized investments. Gosh, this is such a terrible puff piece. If you told the next generation you're never going to be a millionaire, they won't become sad. But if you told them you have to live in one country for the rest of your life and you can't move from this city, they would kill themselves. Is that even true? I mean, do people really care that much about traveling over like wealth? I feel like a lot of people are trying to become rich. Oh, and here we get our first look at our author here. She looks absolutely thrilled to be covering Evan Luthra's billion-dollar ball-in social feeds. Speaking of billion-dollar ball-in social feeds, he doesn't keep his partying lifestyle separate from his business affairs either. The ponytailed party-goer infamously signs virtual contracts when he's drunk on super club dance floors. What? He signs virtual contracts when he's drunk on super club dance floors. That is not a good business decision. You're signing contracts when you're drunk? I can't imagine something less advisable. Wait, what's going on? I'm just gonna sign this billion-dollar deal while I'm partying on a super club. What's a super club, by the way? Maybe I'm just not billion-dollar ballin' enough to know what a super club dance floor is, but is this supposed to make this guy look good? This is making him look like a reckless drunk. You're signing contracts while you're drunk on dance clubs, and also you're dancing and signing? How are you even reading them? You're like, hey guys, signing checks. I don't know who's falling for this. Who's falling for this stuff, honestly? Who sees this and says, wow, that's pretty billion-dollar ballin'. I want to sign checks on a super club dance floor. Doesn't make any sense. preferring to take risks when his confidence is vodka tinged. His work ethos embraces the lessons failure imparts. What, again, is this supposed to make him look good? Yeah, I kind of prefer to do most of my investing when I'm completely hammered. But then, you know what? The writer anticipates that she's gonna get some haters from this, so she heads us off with a pass. Jealousy, gossip, and come downs, however, are just minors in these boss men's lives. Oh, guys, honestly, this stuff is so amazing, and I love the writing. I really do love the writing. A lot of effort, you could tell, was put into this. Look at this, to make this guy look good. This is like some New York Times stuff. Where religion may have dictated a life path for the generation before him, Evan chooses his own spiritual high road, reading code, not scriptures. Likes are the new Tinder, and if your account isn't constantly being commented upon and regrammed by the masses, then no amount of money can make you interesting or relevant. Evan is the next stage heartbreaker, raising the bar for his contemporaries. A six-pack is so 90s, and this is my favorite part. Tomorrow's children desire six-figure social followings, and Evan's accounts are ripped. Truly, this article sets a new standard for journalism. It will be studied for generations. Guys, look at this photo of the author with Evan Luthra. This is a girl who is jealous, who's admiring those six-figure social media followings. And that's pretty much all I have to say about this. This is the article I wanted to cover today. Just to wrap up, I just want to say that we'll be continuing our investigation into Evan Luthra and some of his shadier doings with this alleged scam system that he had going on for a while. There, I'm working with Baller Busters to uncover a lot of that stuff. So big shout out to him. I'll leave a link to his Instagram in the description box below. If you don't know, Baller Busters is basically what I do, but they do it on Instagram, and they have a great track record of busting people like Evan and exposing them for what they actually do. So go ahead, give them a follow. And last but not least, of course, we can't forget.
Don't forget to smash like and subscribe. Thank you.